topic proposal section, once you've chosen a topic or run one by me, asks you these questions, trying to get you to experiment with different styles and also think about the purpose of description in your essay, which is really important to keep this from just being free-floating description and have it focused into supporting a thesis. So, are you going to be subjective or objective in your descriptions? Subjective means tied to your experience and emotions. Objective would be more informative. Like at some point describing my grandmother's pie recipe, I would need to be objective because you don't want to just feel how I feel about this pie recipe. You actually want to be able to follow the steps and do it. But in order to persuade for a personal essay, not just when this is personal, you're probably going to have at least some points that are subjective. That's sort of the definition of personal. So, are you interested in the topic? Are you connected with it personally, professionally? Where does this fall into your experience? So it's a personal descriptive essay, not just, hey, here's something I know about. Why is it going to be interesting to other people? So why is my grandmother's century-old pie crust recipe something I think someone will want to make even though they've never met her? Well, one, because it's different. And we like to do different things. I mean, how many cooking shows are about finding that food that is something we haven't tried before? And how many of these are about going back to historic ways of doing things and bringing that back into the present? So, because I'm seeing this on these shows, I think this one that I have from my family cookbook might be interesting to some people who like that sort of thing. And the purpose, what is the effect? What is all of this going to be leading to? Please make this pie crust, give it a chance, don't let this recipe die out. That's the purpose. So I've got to invite you in, I've got to show you that this is doable, and make you want to try it. And what are 3 details that are going to clarify this? What is a pitfall that you might have? So 3 details. I could be thinking about first, tying it to personal memories, and then details about, these would be more objective, that's subjective, tying it to a memory, making some sort of emotional connection here. And then objective details would be details about how should this pie crust look? When you're beating the Crisco into the hot water, what do you need to know? Oh, you need to know it should look like whipped cream when you're done. And then, but when you fold in the flour and the milk, the consistency should be this, and when you touch it, it should sort of do this, it should spring and bounce. Don't do what my dad did, which is, he is super strong, and he just whipped this pie crust till it was like cookie dough. Nope, way too far. You need to be gentle, and once you've gotten past the lumps, you need to stop. So giving the details to how far to go in the mixing process, the objective details people would need. Pitfall, how to avoid it. For me, one of the pitfalls is going to be, how do I give you, this is not just you measure something, you stir it together, bam, it pops out. There is a delicacy in how far you mix the pie crust, how thin you roll it, and what you're looking for as it bakes. When do you pop this out of the oven? When is it too far and it's going to start burning? What's going to let you know this? It's not just a time, it's also you having to check it repeatedly until it's finished. So getting that objective sense that doesn't just have a measurement is probably going to be one of the pitfalls without being too wordy for someone like me. And then finally, choose a sense, and then give 2 paragraphs using sensory details listed above. 1 paragraph should be objective, 1 should be subjective. So objective, here are the measurements for the pie crust. Subjective, feeling a mood. You're not going to have to use both paragraphs. It's just trying this out. This is an exercise. So, as you are going through this proposal passage on your worksheet, you are going to jump right into the middle of the essay writing, which is, do you have details that could support this overall idea? And then the final part of your assignment is using this form and actually trying out different kinds of descriptive theses. Excuse me. So, yes, theses is the plural of thesis. Patterns that describe a dominant impression, and it gives you this sort of fill in the blank for this. These details create this dominant impression about this topic. Narrow corridors, cramped offices, outdated computers, leaking pipes, and slow elevators make Sterling Hall the worst building on campus. So these details, what do? They make Sterling Hall and the dominant impression worst building on campus. All right, now patterns that create using spatial details and relationships. This topic contains these details and these details. So here's an example. Her apartment contains spacious living room with antique ceiling fans, a dining room featured with stainless glass buffet, and a modern kitchen with stainless steel appliances. This sort of essay, this sort of thesis, it's a little more difficult to see how this would be argumentative, how this would prove a point, unless you are getting to the idea that there is like perhaps a contrast between this material and this material. So this one might be a little bit harder, but still try it out. Patterns that use vivid words to establish meaning. This topic is described by these words. His new spy film is a fast-paced, action-packed, heart-stopping thriller. And then what you're trying to persuade people is, one, that this is true, and two, the implication here is that they should watch this spy film because it does all of these incredible things. Patterns that use similes to establish meaning. This topic is like this topic. The players race down the field like an unstoppable freight train gathering speed. Again, the argument here is a little more subtle, but what you're trying to prove is something about either the mentality of the team or why this team was able to go from having no wins one season, right, to winning the cup or whatever at the end of the season the next year, turning everything around. It's because they were able to gain this momentum that you're comparing to a train. You could probably do that even stronger if you were then getting down to what is driving that sort of motivation for this team. And then a pattern that uses a metaphor to establish meaning. So this topic is this topic. Simile and metaphor being, simile uses like, these things are similar to, whereas metaphor is making a bit of a stronger connection. Online ordering became an avalanche that buried the sales team. Online orders are not, in fact, avalanches, snow that is crushing you with its weight, but that metaphor makes this very strong idea that the online orders are destroying this business. Argument there, very plain, very strong. So you are going to try your hand at these different ones. Again, you're only going to use one, but this is just an exercise. See what works. Look forward to seeing what you write.